The cabin of the private jet hummed with soft jazz, but the air crackled with tension. "Move to the back of the plane now, or I'll call security," the flight attendant snapped, her voice slicing through the music. Heads turned in the luxury cabin of Flight 419, bound for Seattle from Miami, on a crisp October morning in 2026. Elizabeth Harper, 62, sat in seat 3B, her tweed jacket damp from a tray of ice water accidentally spilled on her. Her silver hair clung to her forehead, but she remained still, her eyes steady. The flight attendant, Tara Mitchell, stood over her, her crisp uniform and name tag gleaming with authority, though her gaze dripped with disdain. "You don't belong in first class," Tara said, her tone icy. "Let's keep this civil." Elizabeth met her eyes, calm as stone. "My boarding pass says I'm right where I need to be." Tara didn't glance at it. She didn't care. Before Elizabeth could say another word, a sharp smack echoed through the cabin. Tara's open palm had struck Elizabeth's cheek. A businessman coughed on his whiskey. A woman in 5C whispered to her partner, "What's a cleaning lady doing up here?" Elizabeth didn't flinch or raise her voice. Instead, she reached into her worn leather satchel, pulled out a sleek gray device, and scanned her retina. The screen flashed. "R-code, route clearance confirmed." She typed 5 words, "Ethics strike, level 1E." With a quiet tap, she sent the command. No one noticed the signal dart from the plane to a secure server at AeroGuard Core HQ, where a red alert flared. No one knew 92 private jets were about to be grounded because they mistook her for nobody. Elizabeth Harper wasn't just anybody. She was the architect of the system that decides who flies. 40 minutes earlier, Elizabeth had boarded the jet at Miami International, her steps quiet, her satchel soft with age. No designer labels, no flashy watch, just a navy scarf and the poise of someone used to being overlooked. The boarding tunnel smelled of jet fuel and lemon polish. Tara greeted the couple ahead, "Mr. and Mrs. Caldwell, welcome aboard. Seats 1A and 1B, as always." She smiled, took their coats, and practically curtsied. Then came Elizabeth. "Good morning," Elizabeth said politely. Tara's smile vanished. She sized her a plain jacket, sensible shoes, graying hair. "Are you crew?" Tara asked, her voice flat. "No, I'm a passenger." "Seat 3B." Tara's eyes narrowed. "Support staff use the rear gate," she said coolly. Elizabeth raised an eyebrow. "I'm not staff. I'm in first class." Tara gave a forced chuckle, muttering, "Probably a glitch in the system," and stepped aside. As Elizabeth settled into 3B, whispers rippled through the cabin. "Must have been a cheap upgrade," a man in a tailored suit muttered. Elizabeth pulled out her phone, displaying her boarding pass, Seat 3B, AeroGuard Delegate Code, RG7X. She knew they weren't reading codes, they were reading her clothes, her age, her quiet demeanor. She'd just come from Singapore, where she'd skipped a keynote at the Global AeroGuard Forum to avoid the spotlight. Now, she regretted that choice. People didn't just miss power, they worshipped image. And today, that mistake would cost them. Tara ignored Elizabeth, serving champagne to everyone else in first class with warm smiles and crisp napkins. When she passed 3B, her tray tilted just enough for ice water to splash onto Elizabeth's lap. No apology, no glance. Elizabeth dabbed the stain with a handkerchief, her face unreadable. Across the aisle, a woman in her 30s glanced over, then quickly looked away. "Why is she even here?" a man in 4A whispered to his companion, who smirked behind her magazine. "Probably a booking error." Elizabeth heard every word, but she wasn't surprised. She'd faced those whispers her whole life, the ones that said she didn't belong. But she also knew this flight wasn't just moving through the sky. It was under her audit. At cruising altitude, Elizabeth excused herself to the restroom. Inside the tiny space, she locked the door and pulled out her device again. A retinal scan confirmed her identity. She scrolled to Ethics Grid, Route Override, Silent Activation, and pressed it. A pulse shot from the device, pinging AeroGuard's HQ and 19 server clusters. No alarms sounded, but the ethics protocol for Flight 419 was now streaming live to federal oversight. Every word, every action, recorded. Back in her seat, Elizabeth overheard Tara laughing with the Caldwells. "She looks like she got lost from economy," Tara whispered, unaware her voice carried. Elizabeth returned, calm as ever. Be careful with your words, she said softly. Tara blinked. Excuse me. Elizabeth didn't repeat herself. She buckled in and waited. In the galley, Tara and a junior attendant huddled, confused by a flag on the passenger manifest next to Elizabeth's name. Before they could act, the intercom crackled. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain. We're experiencing a brief technical delay and will hold in this corridor. Elizabeth whispered to herself, the system sees now. Let's see who else does. At that moment, 92 flights across the network slowed, their systems flagged by AeroGuard's grid. At Seattle-Tacoma International, a gate agent's tablet flashed. Ethics grid, Flight 419, route code EH. Incident discrepancy. The code was Elizabeth Harper's, the founder of AeroGuard's ethics system. Within minutes, 92 planes were locked in holding patterns. Delays spread like wildfire. Private jets were denied landing at 7 major hubs. In the cockpit, the co-pilot's screen blinked. Captain, we've been ethics flagged. Route code. It's the woman in 3B. The captain stared at the cabin monitor, where Elizabeth sat, eyes closed, serene. She controls the grid, the co-pilot whispered. She can lock every gate we touch. The FAA's emergency channel lit up with AeroGuard's warning, passenger rights violation. Route authority strike pending. Tara, oblivious, muttered to a crewmate. Probably just a glitch. But Elizabeth wasn't here for glitches. She was here for accountability. As the plane descended, the captain emerged, his face tight. Ms. Harper, he said, standing by her row. I deeply apologize for your experience today. It's not who we are. Tara, arranging trays, scoffed. Apologize for what? Her. The captain's jaw tightened. We're under federal ethics review. Passengers whispered. A man in 6C Googled Elizabeth's name, his eyes widening at the headline. The woman who rewired aviation ethics. Tara laughed nervously. She's just some old lady. Elizabeth stood, her voice steady. For 35 years, I've built a system to ensure no one is judged by their clothes or age. I created AeroGuard because cruelty shouldn't be a job perk. The cabin fell silent. The captain nodded. Ms. Harper, we'll document this incident and initiate a compliance shutdown on landing. Tara paled, stammering, but she provoked me. A junior attendant murmured, we have it on camera. Elizabeth met Tara's eyes. Power isn't loud. It's accountable. By landing, AeroGuard's system had frozen 92 flights, costing millions. At Coastal Airways HQ, executives scrambled. Elizabeth owned equity in the grid's parent consortium. Every airline answered to her. A junior attendant approached her, trembling. Ms. Harper, the FAA confirms your strike. Escalate to permanent suspension. Elizabeth shook her head. I'm not here to destroy. I'm here to fix. Let's see who steps up. At the gate, FAA officers waited with video evidence of the slap. Elizabeth stepped off the plane, no fanfare, but every gate agent stood straighter as she passed. A young gate worker approached. Ms. Harper, thank you for what you've done. Elizabeth nodded. Build it better. Within hours, headlines broke. Madeira assault triggers ethics shutdown. Coastal Airways faced a federal lockout. Elizabeth's name surfaced as the grid's architect. At AeroGuard HQ, a panel reviewed the footage, recommending a freeze on Coastal's routes. In Miami, executives drafted apologies, but Elizabeth didn't care. At her modest Seattle apartment, she read a letter from a teen girl. Ms. Harper, I'm 16 and want to fly planes. You made me believe I can. Elizabeth smiled. This was why she built the grid. Weeks later, Coastal signed a new ethics charter under her terms. Real-time monitoring, bias training, zero-tolerance policies. Other airlines followed, driven by customer demand for dignity. Elizabeth didn't chase fame. She mentored kids, took quiet flights, and watched for kindness. On one flight, a young attendant helped a nervous mom with a smile. Elizabeth thought, this is what it's for. The Senate passed the Harper Protocol, mandating nationwide ethics standards. At Seattle-Tacoma, a plaque honored Elizabeth Harper, who proved the skies belonged to everyone. She kept flying, testing her system, ensuring dignity wasn't just a slogan. Some revolutions start with a slap and end with a new sky. What do you think? Should airlines face harsher penalties for passenger mistreatment? Is one person stand enough to change an industry, or does it take a crowd? Should the Harper Protocol be global? Drop your thoughts below, hit that like button if you believe in fair skies, and subscribe for more stories that shake the system.